Hello everyone, I'm here with two gentlemen who are going to talk about the disadvantage and advantage of protests. We're going to look on how it's bringing impact to our daily lives. I'm Naomi Kirwe.
My name's Collins Juma Sambura, aka Convoy Omwala Original.
Kaimba Evans. Yeah.
Okay, our first question is going to be, when we talk about the economic impact of demonstrations, who really bears the brunt of the cost? Is it mainly business in urban centers, or are there wider, perhaps less visible economic ripple effects felt across the country? And how does this economic distraction influence public support for future projects?
I think I should start. For now, protest is a very, very crucial topic in Kenya right now. And where I stand, I understand that protests, they are not bad at all. But then how we carry them is what matters, is what differentiates if they are good, they are doing a positive impact or a negative impact. First, if I can go back in time, the first protest, according to me, my opinion, I look at the protest we had in 2024, the Gen Z, the first Gen Z demonstration in 2024, last year. According to me, those were the only genuine demonstration. That was the only genuine demonstration we had in Kenya about Gen Zs. Right now, we have a lot of people, they are politicizing the whole process. At the end of the day, we are in the streets demonstrating for, pushing for our rights, but then the impact after the demonstration, you find that businesses are looted, people are losing lives, we find others, they are nursing injuries, and at the end of the day, there's no accountability. It's blame them. Government says opposition planted guns. Opposition says government organized, they are killing people, they organize abducting people and so on. So for me, where we are at the moment, where we have reached in time at the moment, I don't think the protests are good. They are not a good cause for the Gen Z. We need to stop, reflect on the whole process, then identify the real direction we want to go. We need to sit down, pause for a minute, identify, sort out all these gaps. How are goods coming in? How can we protest peacefully, like in Mombasa? Mombasa set a very good example. How can we sit down, protest peacefully without these narratives, notions of goons and whatever? So for me, at the moment, the protests are doing more harm than good, and we need to stop. We need to pause first. That's my view.
Okay, my view, I look at that is the 2010 Constitution and the rights that we are given from there. First, I'll say that protests are given is a constitutional right that we have been given. But then now you start by questioning now the procedure of how it's supposed to come about. If you look at one's right, for example, I say I want to protest. Now, is there a procedure on how should I proceed with the protest? Secondly,
yes,
does the Constitution talk about now how should we conduct ourselves during the protest? I'll take, for example, we have had doctors' protests. These are people who have what we call, sometimes, most of the time you get that they have a genuine reason. They might be needing, let's say there are some allowances, there's
increase
in salary, members to be employed. And how do they do this? Because we don't see these goals inside.
Yeah.
Why? One is that most of these things we see that they present that we are going to use this avenue from here to a particular place. Then they have their codes on. In that, if you find that person, you can identify that this one
is a doctor,
is protesting, and this one is just an innovator into the protest. So you look at it from that angle. If we could be having such arrangements, then the protest should would be good to us, because now we have a genuine reason why we are protesting. Look at it from the 2024 protest. The question was, what do we want? We want the finance bill to be pulled off.
Yeah.
And that was the main reason.
And that's why I said it was genuine, only genuine.
Yeah. And if you look at it, that had a genuine reason why.
Yes.
Now, look at the current protests, how we are having them. You say you want to have a protest, then you even don't know how many, the number of people, the population that you are going to have in that very protest. So now, how are you going to control the crowd that is going to come and protest?
I agree with you, and that's why I've said where we sit, we have a lot of gaps. We have given a very good example. Look at how the doctors and other professions do their demonstrations. They are peaceful, carrying placards in their professional attires. No gaps, no wounds, no nothing. But when it comes to common citizen, like now the Gen Z, is where we have a problem. And that tells you we have a lot of gaps about the law. Okay, our law in Kenya has stipulated a very, very clear procedure of doing or preparing for demonstrations. You have to inform the police, say the location. You have to assure that it will be peaceful.
The routes that you are going to use in that.
But then the problem is, you look at this Europe countries. There are people, there are places that they are set aside for protest. It's not that they are stupid. There's a reason behind. And I saw Pasaris proposing a motion that there are some premises in Kenya, there are some places that should be out of bound for protest. You don't go there no matter what. And I want to agree with that rule.
Now,
because let me finish a minute. I want to agree with that rule because if we are keeping the for example, the CBD out of bound for protest, then we are not going to have properties destroyed. We're not going to have wounds. We're not going to have businesses vandalized. We're going to cap the losses that are emanating from the protests, the ones that we are seeing. That to me is one way we are going to reduce the burden.
Now, my question is, if we are going to have such a long place, because now we have a person who will ask, if we are going to set aside places where people can go and demonstrate,
yes,
and you know our country,
yes,
and you know how we propagate it.
Yeah.
Somebody came up with a slogan and said that if we are going to set aside places of where people can go and protest, then our voices will not be heard. How can you look at that?
Listen, how can you are what's the meaning of protest? What's the main point of protesting? Is we are there's something pressing us. You see, we are trying to push so that you can hear us. The point is you hear. You the president or the authorities, they need to get what we are trying to say. We are pushing them. We are not pushing them by vandalizing businesses. So if we go, look at in Norway, look at in UK, people protest daily. It's not that in Kenya only where we have protests. No, in Kenya we have protests, but violent protests. Other countries, they have protests daily, but you don't see the distractions. Why? Because there are places set aside for demonstration. Businesses are going on, operations are going on as normal. The economy has not stagnated. Everything is under operation. But now, there's a section, people are protesting, and then it will be on news. People are protesting against this and this and this and this. Presidents watch news. Authorities watch news. We have needs, for example, in Kenya. They should sit down, then address the issues. Because how do you mean your question? By your question, do you mean like we just must go into the CPD, destroy properties for the president to hear us? Is that a way
And you see, the analogy that we have is that those who go to the CBD and just to the other things, they are hooligans, they are goons, those who are inventing the demonstrations.
Yes.
Now, the question is, because we have peaceful demonstrators,
True.
those who walk into the CBD and you don't touch anybody's property. Now, the question is, because the understanding is we are going to have it peaceful. That is what we have.
Yes.
I think you get my idea. And that is how we communicate. That's our culture.
Yeah.
For us, our culture is we take into the street. We need a CBD. We have to close down the
roads.
The roads. We have to close down the business operation
and standstill.
Yeah, we have to put it on standstill for the government to understand us. Because if we are going to do it from a field or somewhere else set aside, they have no business with us. And they will not listen to us. That is what we understand, and that's our culture.
I think, okay, you want to say something? Before
But I say, not everyone goes to the Mandamano with the aim of protesting. There are those who are going to work, they go to loot. You can't just come, wanasemanga wapishi wengi waribu mchuzi. Yeah, so not why don't they just create a group of people who just go demonstrate peacefully? Then put aside those, no other person should enter or go outside the Mandamano.
Now the question is, do we have leaders for those groups?
Yes, Kinagashogwa say they're leading the
No, the agency they say they don't have leaders. So this means we walk into the street without leaders.
And my point was,
now the other question comes, who calls for the Mandamano?
The Gen Zs.
Now who's calling? Because you can't say everybody is going to call for Mandamano.
Yeah, I said we have a gap. We have a gap.
How can you bridge that?
We have a gap, and that's why I said first, let the protest stop first. Let's address the issues. We have issues ourselves, but we want to fix the issues in our country. We are not.
And do you know what happens?
Honest.
Do you know what happens to the political class? The moment we have a formula of, let's say, we are having person A, B, and C, they are going to lead the group. Then what happens to the political class? They come picking.
Okay.
So then
you agree now we have a problem, and that problem is what we have to fix first. Let's fix our mentality first. Let's first stop thinking that we just must go to the street, vandalize things for the government to hear us.
That has been our culture.
Our culture that needs to change. The Gen Zs, where I see it, I believe Gen Zs are the most learned people. If you are learning, you have to think differently. We are learning, but still thinking like our grandparents. Gachagua, for example, Gachagua was a DO. His mind is inclined on the antics, on the tactics, on the strategies they have been using since independence. He calls himself the son of Mau Mau. Are you sure he will think differently today? He's calling the same antics is what he will use today, even in his political journey. But that's the person claiming today is leading the Gen Z movement. Gen Zs are clear they don't have a leader, but Gachagua is claiming he's leading. And
so
that's
to your point means they have a person pushing for that agenda.
No, me, I've not seen any person. Gen Zs, they are leaderless.
But if you say somebody is claiming, then that means
you've not heard him. You've not heard Gachagua claim.
Gachagua talks every time.
Yeah, you've not heard him say
it's okay.
You've not heard him. My point is, we need to honestly, if si lazima tuende kwa street tuvunje vitu ndio atiko tumemake a statement. That mentality should change. We are advocating for our rights. By going to the street, now we are pushing. Okay, that's democracy, that's acceptable, and I don't have any problem with that. But I have a problem with going to the street, demonstrating on real issues, which I don't have a problem with, but then infringing with the rights of others.
Just a minute on when we talk about real issues. For example, you have just mentioned that.
Yes.
I may want to understand issues. We want to look at them.
Yes.
For example,
yes.
If we had a demonstration currently we had one. What was the big issue?
From where I sit, where I understood, it was about the death of Ojuang.
Now the question comes in: the death of Ojuang, we are having those people, the perpetrators of Ojuang, are in custody. They are now facing the law. Now, when you go to the street again to demonstrate for the same reason, what is your reason? Because now, what do you want to happen? Because now, what is happening with the Kenyan person, to me, I understand it this way. We are taking the law into our hands, whereby if person A mentions you that you did a particular thing, then I say it's true. I think you get it. Now, if we are to follow the law, we say the law is giving us a right to demonstrate.
Yes.
Now, the same law states that if at the end of the day the person has been taken in, he has to be tried. He has to undergo the judicial process up to the end. We haven't finished the judicial process. Why are you coming again to the street? Do you have a reason for that?
I agree with you. My first point was the only genuine protest I saw in Kenya about the Gen Z movement was that finance bill 2024. This about Ojuang, it was politicized, weaponized. Someone was behind it, pushing for their political ambitions. I have a very, very important point I want to say. So, for example, Ojuang was killed, right? It was wrong.
That is wrong.
It was wrong.
Yeah,
it was wrong.
Yeah.
There were movements. People were arrested. They were arraigned. The OCS Talam was arrested, was arraigned. He was even denied bail. We saw Lagat resign. Okay?
He stepped aside, he never resigned.
He stepped aside. Pave way for investigation. That is what the law says, right? Every person. When Ojuang died in the police station, they said, you should have taken him to court to face justice, right? Yeah. But now, at the same time, you are saying Lagat must resign. In your mind, Lagat is guilty until proven innocent. But Ojuang was innocent until proven guilty. Double speaking. Where are we? Using the law to break the law. Now we're using the Ojuang was killed. Now we have a right to demonstrate, go to the streets. Instead of demonstrating, we're vandalizing, we're burning even police station. We want to go to steal ammunition in the police station, using the law to break the law. Are we moving forward?
But me, I feel like the one thing that is making the Gen Zs to have this courage to protest is the leaders who are inciting this. Like people say that Ruto has used people to get where he is, but can't they just ask themselves, why are these other leaders inciting them to go for protest? Are they not supposed to talk them out of this because it brings more harm than good?
Yeah, good.
Let's go to that and look at it in a minute. What were the points on it?
2024.
Yes.
The main grievance was about it was punitive, like it ingeumiza watu in terms of.
You looked at
Yeah, there are things I looked at, but I realized there were lost. Okay, I have things that people are saying that I never saw. I was told they will tax mpaka shamba unaishi.
And you see that's when now you can say I can tell you that the Gen Zs are moving into the political games. I can give you an example, the propaganda of middle classes. The same way the media houses have stepped into that.
True.
I can give you an example. I looked at that particular clause, and under it was talking about we have 3 types of lands in Kenya. The ancestral, clause, freehold land, and then we have the lease land. Those are 3 different clauses.
In categories.
Yeah, we have them. The one that the tax was talking about, it was freehold. Freehold land, which kind of land is this? And which people does it affect? I think you remember the case of, I can give you an example of Kandu Stadium.
Yeah.
You remember the case of
Wangamati
and the government. That's a freehold land.
Yes.
And those are some of the things that generated that anger.
Yeah.
Because somebody just read the clause and looked at it and noticed that it's going to affect him because he's having a freehold land somewhere.
And opposed it.
And he opposed it. We have the ADCs. Have you ever looked at which under which clause does it fall under?
The ADCs.
Yeah.
Now the problem with our people, the problem is people, I realize even the Gen Zs, they never took even a moment to sit down and read and understand. I don't know, it's about time or it's about they don't understand because of the expert or the terminologies. I don't know. Why are you opposing, for example, the housing levy? For example, I passed around and I found a Buddha guy. He came in, went to school from 3, dropped out, no qualification, no nothing. For example, and the unemployed are the majority in Kenya. They are the people who don't have land. They are the people who don't have houses. Are you getting my point? Now, the housing, there are people who are employed, people who have pay slips, who are being deducted some amount so that we can reduce slums, so that we can for the people who don't have. But then they are saying, how are we?
No, you see where the problem we have is we don't understand the government policies. I can talk about food. If you talk about the housing, like we talk about the affordable housing plan, sometimes I look at people and I wonder how they understand this thing. First, they can take you through to some particular step. We can talk about the housing. And we start from here. If you are employed in Nairobi, currently, and you are paid a salary of around 40,000, if you are employed in Nairobi and you are paid a salary of 40,000, if you want to get a house within town, you are going to pay around 15 or 20,000.
True.
Now, and that house is not within the town.
Yeah, it's in the outskirts
of Nairobi. And so from your 40,000, you're remaining at 20. Now start deducting that 20. Remove the government taxes, remove water, electricity, your transport, and the rest of the things. You remain with only 7,000. What? You haven't touched the school fees and your basic needs. So your salary doesn't have anything. Let's look at it. You know, the people who are opposing the housing are those who are in the real estate.
Yes.
What is the impact?
Because
if we apply the economics into it, if the government is going to build these houses, what will happen? People will be moving from their houses to the government houses, which are cheaper.
And will be forced to reduce and the rest, and then they don't make profit. Now they are saying, no, this thing is bad, inciting people. They are telling you it's bad because they know it disadvantages them.
Now, look at the person who is employed in Nairobi. If you are going to move to a cheaper house, that means what? You are left with some cash.
Some cash. You can save.
Your salaries. You can save. Look at it from another angle. If we say we are talking about unemployment in the country, these houses, the government is going to employ people who are going to manage the estates. Is going to employ people who are going to look after the estates.
True.
Is going to employ people who are going to clean these estates. Because the person who lives in that house is not going to pay that house. The person living in that house will not do the we can talk about the if they have electricity faults, they have these other things. What will happen? The government will come in. And you know how it's going to come in? They're going to employ people to do that job.
But I totally agree. I see from a very neutral angle. I look at when President Ruto came to power, he said, you can lecture me on other things, but I'm going to fix the economy. For me, he was indebted to me. It looked like he must pay that. And I will be very, very keen on that. There's a lot of things happening about this government, a lot of things, right? But to me, about the economy, I've been very, very keen. And some of Ruto's policies are spot on. If we can just give them time, they are spot on.
Yeah.
You've just given from an economic point of
And
view.
that's not enough.
You have just broken down the housing program.
That's not enough.
Just briefly, and you see, give it now. We have those houses across Kenya.
Yeah.
And then people move from real estate. Then we don't have market. The employers will be forced to reduce the rents.
Yeah.
And now the cost of living gradually is going to reduce. If rent reduces, then
we have enough money. We have some money now.
Yeah. Money is in your pocket. You can use that money to do some other things. From there, let me tell you, Kibaki, people are hailing Kibaki as the best president in Kenya, for example, right now. But look at what he did. For me, what we are facing today is unemployment. This unemployment, a lot of people are learning, but there are no jobs.
Yeah,
you see, even if Raila was president today, he will struggle. Kalonzo, name them, they will struggle. Why? Kibaki created this problem. I'm sorry to say that, but I look at it that way. Kibaki created free education, right? Free education. A lot of people went to school. The cost of education in secondary school, he reduced the fees, subsidized everything.
Yeah.
A lot of people went to school. These Gen Zs they are learning and they're actually products of that system. A lot of them. And then Kibaki, the same Kibaki, went to China and negotiated for cheap motorbikes. The same we have today. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
He created, a lot of people are learning, and he went. Motorbikes created employment, but to which class of people? The people, the tertiary who never finished school, we can say the unskilled and maybe semi-skilled. But what about the professionals he was creating through his free education system?
Just a minute.
What did he create to absorb them?
Just a minute. That is where we have a misconception of the whole policy. The policy was, we have people who are going to go through the education system. Look at the time of Kibaki. Most of the people who went to the universities, most of them did what we call business courses. What was the motive behind the business course?
Start your own business.
Start your own business. And if you go to some other countries, you will get that. Those who are learned, those who have PhDs, those who have master's degrees, they are supposed to create employment.
True.
You get?
They are
supposed to get to create employment. They are not supposed to go looking for government jobs.
True.
Now you get the idea. The policy was, I'll let you learn, then you go create job for the market, so that the people can be absorbed into
the private sector.
The private sector. But now we missed the policy, and now the current or the regime that was there now went and absorbed those who are having the masters and those who
I agree with you now. I agree with you about the education. You see, the free education, all these professions, most of them, they are not technical. Like we have a lot of theory knowledge, but technical knowledge, most of them they don't have. So if you are telling someone I've done a business course, but if you're telling someone go start a business, he or she's like, where do I, how? You see, you have theory. If Kibaki, if this CBC would have come that time, maybe at least we could have been in a better position, because our children, our kids today, our sisters, our brothers, they are learning real skills real skills that life needs. You see, that life requires. You coming out of school, you know how to play the air. You have real skills that even if you're not employed, you can find something, touch on it, and magic happens. You earn. You see.